Greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. Thank you so much to the OIC and Peace Islands Institute for organizing this important symposium and for inviting me. There's a principle in communication that says that a message must be delivered at least 3 times in order to be remembered. So I'm hoping that while I might not say anything original, I will say things that support the messages you've already heard, so that it'll be more memorable for you. Today's topic, the role of interfaith dialogue in peace building and the importance of empowering women through education, requires us to think a bit about how we define these terms. First is interfaith dialogue. Interfaith can mean different things to different people. For some, it means sharing our theological understanding. For others, it can mean discussion around specific points of conflict across religious groups. For others, and for the Interfaith Center where I work, our mission is to bring together religions with secular society and to use social justice principles that are embedded in each of our faith traditions as a motivator for building relationships, addressing common social problems, as well as creating joint action projects around social issues. From our vantage point, interfaith dialogue clearly has a critical role to not only building peaceful relations between religious communities, but also building a coherent society, bringing together communities and individuals to solve the problems that we share as we live together on this planet. What role do women play, and what role can they play in this work of interfaith dialogue and peace building? How can we develop more opportunities for women to get involved? At the Interfaith Center of New York, as we work with grassroots religious leaders from all around New York City, we make sure to communicate that for us, religious leader means any person of faith who is working to serve humanity. As Joyce noted, religious leader often refers to clergy. But for us, we make sure that it's not limited to clergy, since across the world's religions, if you focus only on clergy, you leave out women. Taken from this vantage point, we must see that it is not simply that we have to expand the opportunities for women to get involved, but as Joyce also mentioned, we must open our eyes and first see, to really take in the depth and breadth of what women already do. 365 days of the year across the 193 member states, observer states, and organizations that belong to the United Nations. Women are already doing a lot. It is good practice to regularly and consistently recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of women. At Women in Islam, where I'm a board member, we have an annual Dr. Bedi Shabazz Awards ceremony, where we highlight the social justice and human rights contributions of religiously diverse women in the United States and in New York City. So women's involvement in peace building is not new. They are already involved. They need to be noticed, supported, and strengthened to do the work we know that they're capable of. UN resolutions such as 1325 agree that what is needed is to give women the access and opportunities to contribute these skills into structures and processes that have traditionally been occupied by men and that have excluded women. There's an interesting study to support some of the things that Claudine just mentioned. In 2005, Shalom Schwartz at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem published findings from 120 samples in 70 countries, a sample size of over 77,000 people, showing a small but very consistent difference between genders, that men attribute consistently more importance than women do to power, stimulation, hedonism, achievement, and self-direction values. Women attributed more importance to benevolence and universalism. This does not mean that women are innately better, but because of how women have nurtured and been nurtured in character, and because of their uniquely feminine qualities, they may offer something different to the process and structure of peace building and to interfaith dialogue. Providing women with greater access to opportunity also includes access to education, as we know, the second major topic for today. There's a saying of the great Prophet Muhammad, who has encouraged all Muslims, whether male or female, to seek knowledge, wherever it may be found. And also, that the best of parents are those who provide the best of education. He goes on in this particular hadith or narration to state that the best education includes the best of manners. Manners here refers to the whole of character, the ethics that a human being holds and carries into their daily interactions and transactions. This holistic view of education is also being considered here in the United States and other countries by leading thinkers in the American education reform movement, such as Parker Palmer, who also happens to be a Quaker and Christian, who seeks to transform educational practice into addressing the whole person, not simply an act of transmitting information. In fact, the word education comes from the Latin ducere, which means to lead forth, to bring out the best in ability, knowledge, and character, to shape the whole human being, the mind and the heart. Unfortunately, across the world, the right to an education for girls and boys, even the basic kind of transmitting knowledge about subjects such as math, science, the arts and humanities, is not universally practiced. Worldwide, as we know, there are more girls than boys out of school, and girls are less likely to have a secondary and university education. Many cultural practices reflect the value that it is more important and more profitable to send the son to school. School is also not free, and parents may choose to invest in their son's education rather than their daughter's. This sad practice also occurs in countries that are predominantly Muslim. Muslim women's organizations, such as Women in Islam, act as a bridge. We educate the wider public about the spiritual dignity, human rights, and material status that Islam has given both women and men. But we also seek to address the gap between ideals and reality. We bring to light examples of historical and contemporary women leaders, educators, businesswomen, social workers, to remind Muslim communities to get back on the positive course that our religion prescribes and to leave the inauthentic interpretations that demean human beings and women. On the flip side, it's important to note that education in a secular context may have succeeded in providing free education, conveying information, and granting diplomas at all levels. But the omission of character development and education has had its own cost. It has contributed in at least some way to the ethical lapses of corporations and individuals, and ultimately has produced setbacks in economic thriving for all people. That's why education needs to be holistic, in the sense meant by our prophets and our reformers. Clearly, the way forward is the establishment of free education to provide equal access to girls and to educate the whole human being to becoming a contributing member of society who cares about uplifting society as a whole and uplifting humanity. Civil society organizations, has been already mentioned on the previous panel, including interfaith organizations, women's organizations, and Muslim women's groups, and other faith groups can be important allies. They can help transform gender-based inequalities, not by shedding away religion, but rather by harnessing religion's best principles to give women a space to exercise their voice and avail of their due rights. Thank you.